So, let's have a little chat, shall we? A little occult chat, just a little conversation. You know, it's early in the morning, and while most people are probably asleep or getting up, getting ready for their day, I'm up doing work. I did some work last night, some more spiritual work, of course. And as I was sitting there in my spirit, just listening for information, because that's what I do, something profound came to me. And it really may contradict what some people may think or believe, you know? We've heard oftentimes from many different people that the earth is a matrix or it's a prison, right? But something came to me as I was in meditation in my spirit. I don't, I'm trying to get away from all of these cliche words that everybody else uses. I want to walk in my own energy and my own spirit. I don't want to be a part of the cult. Meditation and all that. No, I don't want to be a part of the cult. I was listening within my own spirit, right? I was listening within my own subconscious. I was communicating with my own subconscious. That's what meditation, that's the real goal of meditation, to talk to your own spirit, not to spirits outside of you, per se, unless you're looking for a certain type of information. Because the only way that you're going to be able to get the right information for you is by listening to you. So as I was sitting in my spirit, something came to me and it said, this world is not a prison for everyone. This world is not a matrix for everyone. And I said, can you elaborate? Talking to my higher self. I said, can you elaborate? And it did. And what my spirit said to me is some people came here of their own volition, meaning of their own will, such as me and you, ourselves, talking about myself. Some people came to this world to help rise the planet up, or expand the consciousness on the planet. That is why some people came here. Then there are those who came here to manipulate and to control other people's minds, subconscious minds, here on the planet as well. The earth is not a prison, people. It becomes a prison based upon your level of consciousness and based upon your mind. Let me say that again. It becomes a prison based upon your level of consciousness, or rather, your lack of consciousness. It becomes a prison when you get into the Jim Jones effect, where you follow leaders who are really not leaders, who are not being led by heart and courage, who have no heart, who have no courage. And let me just touch on that a little bit too. Because motherfuckers are always talking about, this and that. Let me just touch on that. In The Wizard of Oz, in actuality, if people really peep it and really look at it and really understand it, the symbology of it, the lion and the Tin Man were really the same person. They both were looking for the same thing. They were looking for courage and heart. The lion didn't have a heart. I'm sorry. The Tin Man had no heart, and the lion had no courage. Courage and heart go hand in hand. So therefore, your heart cannot be light as a feather if you have no courage and if you have no heart. And if the spirit of your heart is not operating the way that it should, there is no way your heart can operate, as some would say, as being light as a feather. You have to have a heart first. Having a heart is not cursing people out. Having a heart is not, or courage is not creating, it's not misusing and abusing people's energy like we've seen a lot of black men in particular do in the black occult conscious community. That's not what having a heart is. Having compassion is not being a pussy and being a coward and not being able to confront the people that you have hurt by your actions, being a so-called spiritual teacher and leader in the black occult conscious community. And I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I'm talking about the black men in that community in general. They have no courage and they have no heart. So therefore, their hearts cannot be light as a feather. They have no spirit. Their heart connects you to spirit. And they have no spirit. I'm not talking about the physical organ of the heart. That's all symbology. I'm talking about the spirit. They have the physical heart, but they don't have the spirit to back it up. Books cannot give you spirit. They can only give you knowledge. So the lion and the Tin Man are actually the same person. The lion had no courage, and that meant he had no heart. The Tin Man had no heart, so that meant he had no courage. See, one cannot exist without the other. Excuse me, my nose stopped up. Blowing my nose. So that was another thing that came through when I was just sitting in my spirit. So going back to the earth not being a prison, the only prison that's created is the prison that people create in their heart, which is their mind as well. That's the only prison that's created. And because of the miseducation, spiritual miseducation of black men, and because the black woman is not in the position that she really should be in, which is as master occult teachers and master spiritual teachers, black women are not really, they're not leading that community, because that is where you're going to get your true wisdom and your true spirit from. You can't get no spirit from no motherfucking men. For real, for real. You can't get spirit from no black men. Black men, we don't have spirit like that. Sorry. Just facts. We don't have it. That information and that way of life, or whatever you want to call it, we have to know, we have to be taught that by the woman, the black woman. Now, it just so happens, because I've had so much divine feminine energy around me, I didn't always have the right feminine energy around me, but let's just say I have had some good divine feminine energy around me. Because I'm gay, I'm able to see and operate in spirit a little bit better than heterosexual men. That's not a dig. It's just what the fuck it is. Because I'm more connected to my divinity than a lot of you all are, because you're heterosexual and your minds are more aligned with intellect. You know, you understand what I'm saying? And I remember one time when, me and my friend, we had a disagreement, and he had to understand that, I'm not like other men. I am more connected to feminine energy. It's just what it is. I'm more connected to my intuition, so I'm a little bit more, I'm not going to say I'm emotional, but I'm a little bit more in tune with my emotions. But then you will have men who are intellectuals. And when I say intellectuals, that has nothing to do with being intelligent. It just means that they read books. Reading books does not make you intelligent. Reading books may give you knowledge that you can, regurgitate. But intelligence is organic. Intelligence cannot be taught. Intelligence is spirit. And black men in that community, they lack spirit. They lack spirit. They lack courage. And they don't have a heart. And let me be clear. Let me be abundantly motherfucking clear before I go any motherfucking further. Let me say this. I'm talking about a very small percentage of black men. Because the black men that I know who are heterosexual, they have courage. They have heart. They have brains. And they are organically intelligent. Just like my play little brother over there in the UK, I'm going to call him AR. He's young. He's heterosexual. But he has courage, he has heart, and he has brains. And he is actually more advanced than a lot of these niggas who call themselves spiritual teachers. He's more advanced than me. He's a Cancer in his zodiac sign. He's more advanced than I am. He could take this shit further than I can. Because the way he sees the spirit, I can tell. I am constantly amazed. And I'm constantly in awe of his consciousness. At such a young age, he has so much wisdom. So much wisdom. So this is only a small percentage of people because they have a cult-like mentality. See, I don't have followers. I don't have followers. I have people that may admire me and have a respect level for me, and vice versa. I don't kiss ass. You understand what I'm saying? That's not what this is about. I don't have no friends in the occult community. I don't do friendships. Never have. This is not about being friends. This is about doing this work together. And if we can find a common ground, then that is truthfully, a beautiful thing. And that should be the prioritization, or that should be prioritized for the real work that Black people can do with each other when it comes to spirit. I think that is where we really could do some real good work. But because of egos and money and bigotry and prejudice, because the Black occult community, they don't like Black people either. They hate other Black people as well. They have a level of prejudice within them as well that they don't speak about. They want your dollars, they want your energy, but they have no investment in really helping you grow spiritually, which is which is their responsibility if they are calling themselves a spiritual teacher. See, I know I'm going all over the place, but I'm showing you how this place became a prison. If you follow me, you will hear what I'm saying without me saying it. See, that's spirit. I'm showing you how our minds became imprisoned within our own minds. There are many different levels to the subconscious mind. Many different levels. The subconscious mind is the foundation, but there are many different dimensions within the foundation of it. I've experienced them, so I can talk about them. This isn't I'm not just telling you what I know, I'm telling you what I can do as well for me. And we've created a prison system within our own mind, which has then turned our surroundings into a prison system. Because if we are gods and titans, and if the mind is all, and if the universe is mental, and if as above, so below, or as the Bible says, and these are all the same, they all mean the same thing symbolically, on earth as it is in heaven. All of those things mean the same thing. The same symbolism of the Baphomet, with the fingers pointed up and down, as above, so below. If all of these things are true, then our minds turned this place into a prison. It wasn't somebody out there. Our minds did it and we just forgot about it. Our minds did it because we slipped down into a lower state of consciousness through greed and misuse and abuse and lower level emotions. And what we did was we took our cosmic scientist part, the part of ourselves, the cosmic scientist part of ourselves, and we put that to the side. And then that is how we became the person without a brain, without courage, and without a heart. And see, Dorothy was the salvation. She was the salvation. Dorothy was the soul trying to find her way home. You see what I'm saying? Remember what Glenda told her? Glenda told her you could have went home all along. And other people have said that too. But I'm having my own realization right now. And I'm just, I'm looking at it through the lenses of my eyes, not somebody else's. Because we've been taught by so many so-called leaders that this place was a prison. But what if it's only a prison based upon your mind? If it's as above, so below, the mind is all, and if the universe is mental, then our mind should be able to bust through anything, or cut through anything, or change anything. I know that I can do whatever I want to do. So if I want to incarnate into the physical world for physical pleasures, to have fun, to live life, if I want to do that, why does it have to be a prison? If I choose to come down here, which I chose to bring my divine self down here. See, a lot of people see another thing too. Some people did not choose to come to the earth. Everybody didn't choose to come here. I did. I know that for a fact. Other people did not. They came here. They didn't come here of their own volition. Some people were forced here because some people are not titans and gods, they're hybrids. And based upon their level of consciousness, they just ended up here. Just like a lot of people, based upon their level of consciousness, they're going to end up, once they leave this body, based upon their level of consciousness, and because they don't have a heart that's light as a feather, they're going to end up somewhere after they leave the physical body. They're going to end up in another world that's aligned with their consciousness. And that world can be what some people would say, it could be either a positive one or it can be a negative one. But at the end of the day, energy is neither bad or good. It's just energy. Your mind controls where you really go. And that includes myself. Your mind really controls where you go. So you control where you go. So the people who did not come here of their own volition, those may be, and this is just my opinion on this one, those may be the true prisoners. Those may be the true slaves to this matrix. But the rest of us, this does not have to be a prison. You don't have to come back here after you transition if you don't want to. But a lot of us choose to come back here because it's fun. It's fun for some of us to incarnate, to go through the physical stages of life. For some of us, that is fun, and that includes the process of life and death. It's only a prison based upon your consciousness and based upon your mind. If you feel as though that this place is a prison, then that's exactly what it's going to turn into for you. Because remember, the mind is all and the universe is mental. Right? Isn't that one of the first laws of Tahuti? So as a man thinketh, so it shall be. So the people who think that this place is a prison, no matter what they think about their consciousness, the people who think that this place is a prison, maybe it's because they're the real prisoners. They are the real prisoners. There are a lot of agents in the Black conscious community, whether it be the magical occult community or the straight conscious community that preaches pro-blackness. There are a lot of agents in that community, a lot of agents. And I went back and I started watching old videos of Shahrazad Ali. The sister that wrote the book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. And what I find very troubling is that when she wrote that book, there were several people that kept popping up. She went on multiple daytime talk shows of those times. Phil Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael. I mean, she was on all of them, just about. And that book caused a lot of controversy. I've never read it, but it caused a lot of controversy. And a lot of people did not like what she had to say in the book. But what I found very troubling and disturbing were the people that were following her around at that time. Every time you popped up, it was the same people in the audience. And now some of these people are well-known people in the black occult community, and they're black men, allegedly. I found that very troubling and interesting at the same time. When did this concept of Earth being a prison, when was that born? Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, the ancients said this. Well, you know, the ancients weren't shit either. If you're going back to ancient Kemetic and ancient Egypt, they weren't shit either. How can we take what they said as truth and fact? Because their civilization, their civilization started to fall and to go down very badly at back during ancient times. Their civilization deteriorated much as the same thing happened to the Roman Empire. So how can we take what they said at face value? You have to take what your mind says at face value. The only truth that is real, and I don't give a fuck who gets mad, I don't give a fuck who, whatever. The only truth that is real, that you could depend on, is the truth of your mind. The truth of your spirit. Not your ego and not the shadow ego. The shadow ego can take on the appearance of spirit. That's what makes it so deceptive. The only truth is not going to come from a book. The only truth is going to come from your consciousness and your subconsciousness. That is the only truth. It's not no motherfucking niggas on YouTube. It's not going to come from no books. It's going to come from your own mind, your brain, your courage, and your heart. And when we really look at those three characters in The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man, they were both looking for different aspects of their subconscious. Courage, which is the spirit. Heart, and brain. They were all looking for the same thing. They were all looking for the same thing. That's the moral of the story. And once they found what they were looking for, heart, courage, and brain, which are all the same thing, once they were looking for that, they were able to see that Oz was not really a prison. That's why Dorothy in some sequels wanted to go back, because she realized she wasn't trapped. This is not a trap, people. Once the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man, once they got their heart, their courage, and their brain, that's symbolic, and that's also the same thing that happened in the Garden of Eden. Once they got what they needed, see, that was all about getting heart, courage, and brain, knowledge, and wisdom. Once they had the knowledge and the wisdom, they woke up and they realized, once they got what they needed, they realized, wait a minute, this isn't a prison that we're in. Because before then, they were trapped in their own prisons in their minds. The lion was trapped in his cowardness and his fear, because fear is cowardness. The Tin Man was stuck. He was stuck in his dimension of not knowing emotion and love, which is really the same thing for a lot of these so-called niggas in this black occult or conscious community. That's why they can't maintain marriages and relationships with the opposite sex. You know what I'm talking about. And that could go for the women too. And the Scarecrow, he doubted himself. That was his prison. He doubted who he was. And he was the smartest one of them all, lacking a brain. But when they went up into that motherfucking, when they went to the ego, or the shadow ego, who was the wizard, and they all cornered that motherfucker, the three versions of the subconscious, heart, courage, and brain, once they ran the ego off, they ran that shadow ego off out of Oz, and they took the rightful place. They each took their respective rightful places in Oz. So it's not about, this is not a prison. This is not a prison. It's only a prison when you don't have the things that you're supposed, or it's only a prison when, let me say it this way. It's only a prison when the right things are not activated inside of you. That is when it's a prison. When the right things are not activated inside of you, when you're not in touch with the right shit inside of you. Because a lot of people who think they're talking to spirits, they're not really talking to spirits. They're talking to their shadow ego. They're talking to their shadow ego. And how you know the difference is in how people move on a human level. Because people that are really talking to spirit, they don't misuse and abuse people's energies. People that are talking to spirit, they have compassion. And they don't look for fans. They look for self-enlightenment or inner enlightenment, meaning wisdom and knowledge. Such as myself. I talk to spirit. I'm not looking for fans or friends or putting out cash apps and all that nonsense that these motherfucking niggas do now. And I know people have a right to get paid and everything and stuff like that. I get that. When they're really talking to spirit, they don't elevate one person over everybody else. Oh, I like you better and I don't like you no more, but I like you. You're better than everybody else. That's not spirit. That's ego, shadow ego work. That's shadow ego. The ego has a shadow too. And that is what is tricking a lot of you all into thinking that a lot of these people who call themselves master occult teachers, it tricks you into thinking that they're really master occult teachers when they're not. You know who the master occult teacher is? It's you. It's you. You're your biggest teacher. You set up all of these experiences for you to experience as lessons. We are self-created titans, deities, whatever you want to call it. Gods, whatever. We are self-created. If you gravitate towards someone, it's because your spirit is pushing you towards that person, whether it may be good or bad on a human level or conscious level. There's a lesson and an experience that you need to learn. So when I was dealing with that particular sector, that conscious community, when I was dealing with them, I was never really close to them like that. I didn't really fuck with a lot of them niggas like that. But when I was over there, I realize now that experience, good, bad, or indifferent, that experience was something that I created. So no praises need to go to anybody outside of you, because we are the ones who create our own path. We create our own reality. So I created a pathway to get to those people to get something that I needed. I needed something from that energy to help me to expand my consciousness. And once I got that, that is when they turned against me. And that is when I began to see them for who they really were. But that's okay, because I was the one who what I'm saying is this. All of that needed to happen for me to expand my consciousness, for me to step into my true power. So you can use people as I created that to learn the lessons that I needed to learn. That is how I am able to come here now and say, wait a minute, this ain't no motherfucking prison. Because if the mind is all in the universe is mental, and if it's based upon your mind, and if your mind controls everything, then you don't have to think of this place as a prison. Your mind can change that. I don't think of Earth as a prison anymore. I think of it as a place we come to learn, to enjoy, and sometimes it may be motherfucking suffering and pain, but that comes with the territory depending on what type of work you're down here doing. And like I said, some people come here of their own volition, their own choice rather, and some people don't. Everybody is not the same. Everybody doesn't come down here by choice. I came down here by choice. That's a subconscious memory or a cell memory that connects to soul. A lot of people don't know nothing about that. Or rather DNA, whichever one you want to call it. So I'm actually grateful. I'm grateful for the betrayals, the deception, and everything that I experienced over there in that conscious community from so-called whatevers. Because I was watching, and I'm going to quote, I was watching, and I had never seen this before. I was watching an old clip of Sylvia Brown. And, you know, I know people called her a fraud and all that shit, but I think what happened with Sylvia Brown was this. Once she became more intertwined with Hollywood and the media and stuff, I think that is when she started to go off into, you know, kabuki type of stuff. But when she was doing regular lectures with regular people, I'm not talking about going on these talk shows and shit like that. No. When she was doing regular lectures with regular people, she was spot on the money. And like she said, what did she say? Wait a minute. She made a very good point about something. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, right. She said that life is not supposed to be easy. You can't always have happiness. And even Shahrazad Ali said the same thing. She said, you ain't going to always have happiness. That's just not possible because that can change from day to day. She said, what you do is you ask God or whatever your God may be. You ask yourself, you ask your higher, whatever. You ask the God that resides within you, you ask for peace. Because when you ask for peace, nothing can shake your foundation that comes your way. Nothing. So now that I look back, now that I really look back at my experiences with different people, I understand now that they were necessary. So I could see the truth eventually that I don't have to be imprisoned by anything. I don't have to be imprisoned by my emotions. I don't have to be imprisoned by this idea or this false ideology or concept that Earth is a fucking prison. And I'm not knocking anybody's work or anybody's, concepts. I'm talking about false concepts as far as me and my subconscious. I'm talking about me, nobody else. We create our own realities. So if we create our own realities and on a quantum level, if there are things happening in the quantum realm, and the quantum realm is not somewhere out there, the quantum realm is within you, your quantum realm. What's happening in your quantum realm? What are you doing? What realities are you creating? The quantum realm is not somewhere out there. That's just like the Kalipov, the dark side of the tree of life. It's not somewhere out there. It's somewhere in there. And I'm pointing, I know you can't see me, I'm pointing towards myself. It's somewhere in there. Your dark side of the tree of life is in you. Everyone has their own dark Kalipov. That's an individual experience. It's not a one thing. No, it's you. It's you. The darkest side of your subconscious, because it can get darker. And that is where you get into the more darker forms of feminine energy. But this even goes back to, let me go back to the Wizard of Oz for a minute. This even goes back to when I talked about the Antichrist. In the Wizard of Oz, when they confronted the false wizard, which is, you know, a lot of these conscious niggas in the black occult conscious community, a lot of them are just wizards. They're false wizards. They're not even real wizards. They're false wizards. Fake wizards and magicians that just want your money and want your energy. Yeah, I said it. See, in actuality, even though they demonize them, in actuality, you got to go back to Oz the Great and Powerful, where they give you the prequel before Dorothy comes to Oz. In actuality, the real power in Oz was the Witch of the West and the Witch of the East, her sister. Because the witches were symbolic of the subconscious mind prior to the wizard coming to Oz. But that's a whole nother story I don't want to get into. But when the wizard was confronted by the lion, by the scarecrow and the Tin Man, when he was confronted by them, and you can look at that as the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. For some of the Christians out there, you can look at that in that concept. They were confronting the illusionist, which is the Antichrist, the ego. And they ran him out of Oz. That you can also tie that back into American Horror Story Season 8. The witches versus the Antichrist. The witches were the subconscious mind. The Antichrist, Michael Langdon, was the ego. You see where I'm going with this? The subconscious mind, it's all about the subconscious and how you operate or communicate, or rather your connection with that entity or that power source, rather, that we call the subconscious. Don't be bamboozled by fake magicians and fake motherfucking occultists. We've gotten so motherfucking distracted by distractions and distractors, because a lot of us are thirsty and hungry for knowledge and wisdom, and a lot of us come to these people broken, myself included, thinking that these people, you know, are really about the work and really about helping us tap into that power source in us. But in actuality, because they lack, and this goes for some of the women too, because they lack courage, because they lack a brain, because they lack heart. And all of that means is that they are prisoners because they lack, they don't see. The only thing they can see is their ego. They have no compassion. And compassion is actually the key to really elevating yourself enough where you can see the truth. And once you can see that this place is not a prison, then that's your exit out of this motherfucker. If you want. If you want. Like I said, if you want. Because if you're a god and a titan, you do what the fuck you want to do. And if you want to come down here and play around for a certain amount of time, then you should do that. You should be able to do that. Now, I don't talk from a place from hatred. I don't talk from a place from maliciousness. I'm speaking from a place of truth. This isn't maliciousness. This is truth about my experience and what I learned and how I can see now that the blockages and the fog is clearing up. You understand what I'm saying? People tell you, oh, you shouldn't have any human emotions, and, oh, if people do something to you, you should turn the other cheek. That's not compassion. That's not compassion. You don't let people walk all over you. See, that's how things get, that's how black people got into the position that y'all in now. You let all these motherfucking different species walk all over you, exploit you, and do all types of things to you based on the name of false compassion. That's not compassion. Compassion is having understanding. Compassion is being able to say, you know what? I hurt this person. What can I do to make it right? Even if I don't really like that person or agree with certain things in their life, what can I do to make this right? Compassion is going inside of yourself, taking a journey within inside your own heart to examine it, to say, well, wait a minute, I could have made a better decision in that. Compassion is going to your mate or going to your boyfriend or girlfriend, like I did to my boyfriend, saying, you know what? Giving them information so they can understand why you may act the way that you do in some situations. That's having compassion. Self-examination of your heart and aka your mind, whichever one you want to call it. Self-examination of self to find out what could you have done better. But see, those niggas in that fucking black conscious occult community, they don't do that for their fellow brethren and sisters. They don't do that. They'll just try to act like you don't exist. That's not compassion. That's cowardness. And it shows lack of brain. And it shows lack of integrity. And it shows lack of courage. And it really shows who's really in a prison and who's not. It really shows. There's a reason that certain places in the United States, such as New York, are, y'all get what I'm saying? It's a reason why that state is the way that it is. On a conscious level. There's a reason why a lot of consciousness used to come out of New York. Used to. I don't know about now, but used to. That's what compassion is. Self-examination. And then going to that person and trying to make things right. Not be friends with the person, but trying to turn something positive, something negative into something positive. That's what I do. But a lot of these Negroes in this black occult in that black occult conscious community, you can't do that with them because a lot of them act just like patriarchal white racist men. And this ain't no shade to white men per se. I'm talking about the spirit. I'm not talking about the skin color. I'm talking about the spirit. See, when I talk about white people, I'm not talking about their skin color. I'm talking about the spirit. I'm a spiritualist, and that's what I do. I look at the spirit of people. And racism is a spirit. It just so happens that it infects a lot more white people than it does others. But now that's even changing. And I don't give a fuck who gets mad about what I'm saying. That's even changing now. Racism is a spirit. And I see that spirit in a lot of these black so-called master occult teachers across the board. I see the prejudice. I mean, I know they're homophobic. I get that. And they don't like gay people. I get that. You know. But the homophobia is not about them not liking gay people. The homophobia is about them being the cowardly lion. The cowardly lion is a homophobe because he's afraid of himself. He has no courage. Because real courage doesn't come from a book. Real courage doesn't come from being YouTube famous. Real courage comes from sitting in the dark when no one else is around and having all those emotions come up that you keep hidden, and you face them one by one. You face your ego without any type of, encouragement. It's all organic. My ego is in the process of dying. It's in the last stages of its death. My ego is dying. It's really dying. And a lot of you may be experiencing anxiety or panic attacks and those types of emotions and those types of so-called afflictions. But fret not and fear not. Because what's happening is this is what's happening. That is your ego dying and trying to hold on to some control. And that's what I see in this so-called black occult magical fucking community. The egos of a lot of these people are trying to stay in control. But what's happening is people that are real seers, like myself, we can see the difficulty that these people are having in allowing their subconscious mind lead versus their ego, no matter what comes out of their mouth. The ego and the shadow ego have been lying to these people, telling them that they're in a prison. The only prison that they've been in is the prison of their own fucking mind. That's the only prison that they've been in. That's the only prison that you've been in, is the prison of your own fucking mind. Nothing is imprisoning you. Nothing is keeping you in this motherfucking world but your own ego. That's it. No courage, no heart, no brain. No courage, no heart, no brain. This is Sia Grant, aka The Occult View. And that's all I really have to say. But before I go, your ego is dying. A lot of people's egos are dying out. And yeah, let me say this before I go because I don't want to leave you all in limbo. A lot of egos are dying out. Your ego is dying. And that is why you're having a lot of the problems that you may be having in your human life. Because the Antichrist in you is dying. Because the real war, and I've made videos about this before, the real war is between the subconscious and the ego, the Antichrist, and God, which is your subconscious mind. So in American Horror Story Season 8, remember Mallory, that witch, went back in time and she killed Michael Langdon before he rose up to be the Antichrist. Remember? So the apocalypse never happened. The apocalypse never happened. So everything that they thought did not even happen because she went back in time and changed it. So that's what I'm saying to you. If you think something long enough, it'll begin to manifest. Because remember, at the very end of American Horror Story, there was another Antichrist that was rising up. And that's because Michael Langdon was, in actuality, he was the ego, but he wasn't the shadow ego. At the end of that season, when that white boy and that black girl had that baby, he was the shadow ego. And that's what you really have to take out as well. It's a process. You have to take out that shadow ego. And the subconscious mind is going to do both. You're only a prisoner if that's what you believe. And somewhere within that paradigm, let's just say, and I'm paraphrasing here, someone in that American Horror Story universe, they understand, someone who writes for that show, you can tell that Ryan Murphy is an occultist. You can tell. Because when you listen to you listen to the lines that people say and the words, when you listen, you can tell that he understands a lot of ideologies and concepts of the occult. The subconscious mind is going to win in the end anyway. That's what the book of Revelations is telling you all about in the Bible. God is going to win. No matter what. And I know I talk a lot about niggas in the conscious community now. And I know you say, Sia Grant, yes. But I talk about them because not for hatred, but to show you how I rose even above that. See, a lot of them motherfuckers want to stay as followers of people. They want to stay oh, I'm friends with this person on Facebook and I'm this. They want to stay under that. They don't want change. And the people that they follow, truthfully, they don't want change for them either. But they had to get me the fuck away from them because I'm real. I'm really about this work for myself. So therefore, they can't have me around them because I would see too much that would make them uncomfortable. You understand what I'm saying? I've caught certain individuals in very vulnerable, moments. Not physically, but spiritually. And instead of them being able to be honest about that and say, listen, I wasn't whatever, they just throw you away. And that's okay too. Because I maintain my motherfucking dignity and my motherfucking respect. And nobody can take that away from me. Nobody. Consciousness has become a joke. It's become a joke for middle-aged, old-ass fucking black men who are just pimping people. That's it. Unless they like you. If they like you because you got something in common with them, then that's okay. And see, that lets you know, and I'm changing gears a little bit, that lets you know right there when somebody likes somebody because they got something in common or they like the same things. That lets you know right there that that's not built on a real foundation. Because I don't want to be friends with people who are just like me. I want somebody that's opposite of me who can show me something different. That's real motherfucking consciousness right there. I don't want to be friends with people who show me the same things that I already know. I don't want to be friends with people who I got something in common with. I want to talk to people who can show me something different. See, this is why I was friends with Marion Barry's son, Christopher Barry. Because Christopher and I could not have been more different. He could not have been more different. My current boyfriend, he and I are totally different. We're totally different. Anybody that I'm friends with, we are totally different people. We may understand and we may come to common grounds, but they have their own way of thinking. Like my little brother in the UK, AR. He thinks totally different from me. He has his own way of thinking. And those are real conscious connections. But people that just want people around them that think the same way they do, that act the same way they do, that's a cult mentality. And a lot of them motherfuckers would deny it, but you can see it. You can see it. And that's why a lot of times people cannot tolerate me being around them for a long period of time, because whatever spirit they're dealing with will tell them that motherfucker right there can see you for who you really are. So they'll make up shit about you. And I'm sure other people out there can vouch for this too. They will make up shit about you in their minds to push you away, to ostracize you, when you haven't done anything to them for real, for real. But that's because they don't want you to see their flaws. And what magicians do, magicians are not occultists. Magicians are more of an illusionist. What magicians will do is this. They'll feed you enough information to make you think that they have compassion, to make you think that they are owning their shit. They'll feed you enough information to draw you in. That's the smoke and the mirrors and the card tricks that they use. But in actuality, these people are not doing any real work. Because if they were doing any real work, they may have been doing it at one time. If they were doing any real work, they would not want to just talk to people who fit into their perfect little, their perfect little white picket fence mentality. You're more like Hollywood, the cult out there. That's how the conscious community is now. The so-called black occult, that's how it is now. And I don't give a fuck who gets mad. I don't give a fuck who got a problem with it. I don't give a fuck who got something to say about it. I said it and I ain't taking it the fuck back. I'm not. See, this is what happens when you allow black men to lead the spiritual community. They should not be leading the spiritual community. The right black women, the right ones, and I haven't really seen too many of them yet. Maybe a few, but not too many. But the right black women should be put in place to lead the black spiritual community. And when I say lead, I mean giving people what they need and helping people to expand their consciousness in the right way. No friendship, no fake friendships, no expectation of friendships, just pure consciousness and learning. And see, that is what the Wizard of Oz was really trying to show us. Your connections with people can be very brief. But as long as you get something from them that is of a conscious nature or of a nature to expand your consciousness, that means more than anything than somebody coming to your house every day, somebody picking up the phone calling you every day. I didn't know Christopher Barry that long, and I know I said I was getting ready to go, but I didn't know Christopher Barry that long. But the friendship that I had with Christopher was more meaningful than most of the friendships I've had with people that I've known for 20 and 30 years. And that's because he came into my life to help me expand my consciousness, to help me elevate to the next level. That's what that was all about. That's what kindred spirits do. And now, because of that, I found my soulmate. And I fought against this for... I didn't know that the person that I'm with now was my soulmate connection. I didn't know that. And he and I have opposition to certain things too. But that's okay. You don't want somebody that's exactly the same like you. I don't want nobody that's like me. Ew. That's creepy. I don't want a clone of me. I'm not calling myself ill, but I'm saying I don't want a clone of me. I want someone that I can learn something different from. And that is why I went over to that conscious community, because that was a challenge. Because I knew that a lot of them were homophobic. I knew a lot of them did not really like me. I knew that. Not on a human level, and that was okay. But at least at that time, they had enough consciousness and enough intelligence, not intellect, but intelligence, or maybe, well, I guess you can say intellect and intelligence, they both tie into spirit. They had enough spirit then to at least hear a different perspective that was it wasn't forced on them. I was asked to speak. I was asked. I would have just been happy being in the chat talking to the people. But I was asked to speak. I was asked. But then as things progressed, after certain things went down, you notice how they start acting funny and start treating you because black men are two-faced. All of them are two-faced. They're two-faced. They are two-faced people. It's just what the fuck it is. Men in general are two-faced people. They don't maintain good friendships with people. My friend that especially in the DC area, now my friend that I have here with me, he's nothing like he's nothing like a lot of these black men. Christopher Berry wasn't either. Totally different type of person. But that two-facedness and all that shit, that's a learned behavior that we learned from others. Let's just say that. That's something that we learned. They don't have any integrity or any loyalty in that black occult conscious community because they're not doing any work. They lack the brains, they lack the courage, and they lack the heart. They want everyone to be cookie cutter. Even if they don't want people to be exactly like them, they have a cookie cutter mentality in regards to how they view people. They want people to fit into a certain category. That's not consciousness. That's a cult. That's some weird shit. Anyway, I've talked enough. If you're going through anxiety and panic attacks and all that type of stuff, a lot of that is because your ego is trying to hold on to control. Your ego is dying out. The ego is dying. And some people are not allowing it to die off. They're fighting it, and you can see it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.